What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Corporate Bartender. As the philosopher Ice Cube likes to posit, today is a good day. We've got the coach for coaches, Mark Scherer, on the program. Who's Mark Scherer? Stick around. We're going to read you in. He's helped hundreds of people navigate the toughest chapters of their lives. He's changed the lives of folks headed for divorce, helped kids with disabilities become high performers, and the rehab industrial complex doesn't want Mark anywhere near their revenue model, and he does it all at light speed. Mark has a system called the quantum leap technique. No, it doesn't involve Scott Bakula, but it is almost as magical. This conversation was a banger. Per normal, we covered some heavy ground and laughed a ton. Prepare to have your mind blown. I think you're going to dig it. Buckle up, TCBers, grab your favorite cocktail, and let's get right on into it with Mark Scherer on today's TCB.
Welcome to SkyTeam's The Corporate Bartender, where we gather some of the best HR and people leaders to discuss what's happening on the people side of business. Now pull up a stool, belly up to the bar, and join us for The Corporate Bartender.
Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's Corporate Bartender Day, your favorite day and mine. Today is the 31st of July, and Lori said it in the pre-show, and she knew I was going to say it. Now, holy cow, 2024 is now more than half over. We are barreling into Q3. Pretty soon, it's going to be Christmas, and people booed at me when I said that 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it just keeps getting more true. It is the 203rd time that we've convened this group of amazing folks, and today's going to be a good day. We have a guest. He's the guy you don't recognize up there in your Rubik's Cube view. His name is Mark Scherer, and he is the CEO and head coach, which is a great title, of a company called Encompass Life. He is known as the coach of coaches. And he has a coaching technique called the quantum leap technique that we're going to ask him all about. So we're going to get into that conversation here shortly, but a little housekeeping first. We have some dark days ahead, and I don't mean that in the spiritual sense. We are going to be out of town next week, the 3rd, and then Ruby and I will be in Tucson, Arizona, the week of the 14th with the client. So see, Allison, you're not going to miss as many gatherings as you thought. We've got some guests upcoming when we get back from Tucson. We've got Tad Price, and I did a terrible job on my slide because I left Mark's bullet point there. Tad Price is not that. He is the CEO of an Austin-based company called Ready, Set, Hire. So he is going to talk to us all about talent acquisition, getting these frontline essential workers in place, talking about hybrid workplaces like we talk about all the time. We have a reschedule from back in May. Trisha Shields, the CHRO of Naviant's going to be here. We're going to talk about thriving cultures with those remote workforces again. She was supposed to be here in May, and she called me on the day that she was supposed to be here and said, I hate to do this, but I have to cancel. I just had a grandchild. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's a valid excuse to cancel the show. So she's got all that sorted out and it's going to be with us on the 4th of September. But we have today, like I said, Mark Scherer, the coach of coaches. Mark, we didn't warn you before we started, but we dance everybody onto the show. Let's give Mark a good TCB welcome, shall we? There it is. I play the music until the guest starts dancing, because if they don't, we sit here awkwardly. So I appreciate your enthusiasm, Mark. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here with us today.
You're welcome. I love it. And I love the word enthusiasm as well.
Well, hey, Mark, before we get into what is this quantum leap technique and why are you the coach of coaches and the head coach as your title, tell us a little bit about your journey. I imagine that when you were a kid, you didn't say, when I grow up, I'm going to be coach of coaches. I'm going to have this cool technique, and I'm going to be helping people move past tough stuff in their lives. What did you want to be, and how did you get here today?
Well, when I was a kid, I was raised on a cattle ranch farm. We had probably 400 or 500 head of cattle, and I think we had maybe 80 acres of corn and hay and strawberries and cantaloupes. And so
I thought with this New Jersey accent of yours,
right. Well, shucks, there, buddy. What do you mean about that? So you know how you can tell how many beers a Texan has had?
How?
By how many syllables he puts into the word shit. Shit.
Shit.
Shit. That's a six-pack, man.
I love it. So you grew up on a farm?
Yes, sir. And I really enjoyed that. Was raised in a Catholic school. Went to Catholic school, and
did you get your knuckles wrapped?
Somewhat, yeah. And there was it was kind of weird being involved with that because there was a lot of questions. I would ask questions about certain things. They wouldn't answer the questions. You got to believe what we believed, what you would tell you to believe. So that kind of set me off when I was a kid. I kind of rebelled against all that. So I did have an interest for personal growth and being able to explore consciousness from a kid, but I didn't know what that was about. The teacher said, you should be a priest. And I was like, I like girls, so there's no way I'm going down that road. Like, no. They said, you have tremendous religious insight. You ever think about becoming a priest? No, and no, thank you. And my dad worked for a chemical plant, and my parents said, you're going to be a chemical engineer. I was really good in math and chemistry and physics, so I went to school to become a chemical engineer. And I was co-oping while doing so and hated it. I said, there's no way I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life and working in a chemical plant. So I became an entrepreneur in probably my mid to late 20s, I guess. Started my own construction company. And I was doing flooring. My mother had a flooring business growing up. So I had learned the business kind of from the inside. And I started doing that, and I was in Austin doing flooring, and I had a company that did flooring, metal studs, drywall, painting we were really big into the hospital industry there in Central Texas. And did we did Texas A&M Medical School there as well, some of the other pretty good sized project. We did a lot of work for Dell, and hated that too. I mean, it was okay, made money at it, but it didn't really feed my heart. But while I was doing business, I was also taking classes all over the place in consciousness. And I've been studying consciousness now for about 35 years. And when people would come to my office, I'd be more interested in telling them what I was learning in consciousness than I did about floors,
Well, flooring is not the most exciting topic to talk about.
Yeah, you can't get much lower than floors,
Oh, hey.
Oh, hello there. I took you got the canned laughter too. In class, I have Michelle, my girlfriend and partner, and what she does when I do these goofy jokes is she just rolls her eyes. So when she rolls her eyes, I know I'm on. So anyway, I got out of the flooring business in 2008, 2009. We had the big downturn. I had a friend of mine's son was working for me, and he did a big embezzlement and embezzled a lot of money from me. So I lost a ton of money and had wanted out of the flooring business, but I said, just one more year, I'm gonna put some more money in the bank, and then I'm gonna do this coaching thing. I'm gonna have enough cash in case I fail at coaching. I'll have enough cash to be able to be able to live. And I lost 95% of my wealth when all that went down.
Dang.
And I said, well, you know what? If I'm going to do something now, start a new career now, I said, it's going to be what I love to do, period. And so I desire to be a really great coach. So God goes, coach yourself out of this shit.
Great test subject.
Great test subject. So I've been through I've been through hell, and that's why I found some of these techniques was getting myself out of all this stuff. Back in 2009, 2008, or around that time, I'd had an accident as well. I couldn't walk.
Mm.
I had ruptured a bunch of disc in my back, so I really went through some really tough times. And even though I had done a lot of coaching modalities, I was still, most of them were mentally based. You got to think the positive thoughts, don't think the negative thoughts. You got to think positive, man. You got to think positive. That was like herding cats.
There's a lot of noise going on up here.
Yeah. I mean, that was just one more voice up there. Well, am I being positive or am I being negative? It was one more judger going on inside a series of judging going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, with this, and I also share with you guys here about I had a speech impediment as a kid. If I said a word incorrectly, I would get hit. So my speech impediment turned to a stuttering issue. I stuttered for 50 years.
Mm. Wow.
And with this system, I went from a stutterer to clear speech in under 10 minutes. And from not being able to speak in front of a group of people to being able to speak in front of people, 20 years ago, no way could I be the way I am with you guys. No way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be sitting there sweating and stammering all over myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when all that shifted for me, I started leading my own classes and started bringing the system to other people. And over the last, I guess it was about 15 years ago when I started coaching in this modality, and I've refined it over the last 15 years. And about 6 years ago, I launched Compass Life because I had clients who were asking me, where do we learn how to do what you're doing? Because you're producing results in a matter of minutes that other coaches can't produce in years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, as far as I know, I have yet to see anybody else doing what I'm doing. So I put together a university and I launched it about 6 years ago.
Nice.
And we've trained, it's still in the hundreds. We trained hundreds of people to become coaches in our system.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last 6 years, I've developed a team of really highly trained people who are now training other coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So we can ramp up. But we got clients all over the world by word of mouth. I didn't even have a website.
I love that.
But they would get a result and they would tell their friends. So it's a really different system.
I can't wait to hear about the system now.
I know, right? It's the buildup, man. It's the buildup. It's not the kill. It's the thrill of the chase. We should make a song about that.
I mean, even the name, right? Quantum leap technique. I'm one of these. I know it's weird. My kids give me shit about it all the time. I'm one of these people that I'll get up early on a Sunday morning and nobody's awake, and I'll go to the computer and I'll fire up some sexy physics videos. Yeah, I know. My daughter came in one time and she's like, "Are you watching math?" I'm like, "You shut up. You just go do your stuff." So like, we were on vacation in Mexico a month ago, and we're laying on the beach, and Lori's like, "What are you reading?" I'm like, "I'm reading my Michio Kaku physics book. You leave me alone." So the name Quantum. Hey, what did you say? Be nice. You're stuck with me for life now.
Happily.
So even the name Quantum Leap, like I hear, I made a joke earlier about the TV show, but I hear quantum theory and quantum computing and, quantum in that nature. And when you describe the rate at which you're getting stuff done, I go, okay, well, maybe there is some quantumness here. So tell us about the Quantum Leap technique. What is it? How does it work?
Yeah, so let me tell you some of the type of results are produced. So, have you ever been in a place where you have a great idea, but you get stuck in the implementation of how am I going to do it?
Yep.
Okay. And that monkey mind that sits there and just turns and turns and turns and turns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or have you ever getting triggered? You're married. I'm sure you've gotten triggered. So
it's only been a month. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And maybe you go silent, right, and hold it in, or maybe you lash out and say something you kind of regret. And then maybe 3 hours later, 3 days later, 3 weeks later, 3 decades later, you come up with, man, if I just would have done that, I could have had a whole nother result with that, in that situation, right?
Yep.
So the quantum leap technique is a way to back up, and that gap from where the person goes into reactivity to where they can be in an effective action conversation is what we call, that's how we measure emotional intelligence here.
Okay.
Is that delay from being an effective action or a reactive response. The longer you're in that reactive response, the more it affects your emotional intelligence. So the quantum leap technique, one of the results of it is way improves emotional intelligence. So instead of taking hours or days or weeks to produce this new result, it can be a matter of milliseconds or seconds where the person is staying in effective action.
I refer to that as the choice point, right?
Yep. Instantaneous. It may come up a lot of times. The person will just respond in this new way automatically. No behavioral practicing it. So what we're doing with the quantum leap technique, basically what we're doing is having the person consciously reprogram their subconscious. Instead of being in a state of reactivity, they're in a place of already providing solutions for you. The conscious mind operates between 40 bits of information per second up to 2,000 bits of information per second. The subconscious runs between 20 million up to 400 billion bits of information per second.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
OMG.
Well, it's kind of like, it makes me think of, simple example, like riding a bike, and it's just like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Like, once you learn, you get on the bike and you don't ever think about riding a bike. You just ride.
Right.
Or even like more complex situations like driving.
Yeah.
I don't think about driving, and sometimes I'll get to wherever I was going and I don't even really remember the trip.
Yeah.
Because it just happened.
Yep. And when you were learning to drive, it was kind of
right.
And then you went to bed one night, woke up the next morning, and somehow or another, driving your car got installed while you slept.
You just drove.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing here. We have a unique way of doing that. The subconscious is programmed when people speak, when their thoughts, words, and feelings align. So most people have been programming their subconscious based on complaints. In other words, anger, resentment, and frustration. And it's hilarious because people will compete about it. And it's interesting, you have the bar and everything. So when people are in that competing on complaining, they go out for wine and wine. And let me tell you about how crappy my job is. Let me tell you about how this is. Let me tell you about all, and they compete on who can handle the most pain and survive it. That's how most people are living. Very little thriving going on in that state. High level of stress, and the more somebody stresses, the more damage it does to the neurons in the brain. Stanford did a study, and they said complaining damages our neurons. I'm from Texas. I like to make things simple. Complaining makes us stupid.
Fair.
That's great.
So what we're doing here, rather than the quantum leap technique, rather than thinking positive thoughts and negative thoughts and trying to do all that, what we do here is we change body chemistry first, which changes brain chemistry, which changes thoughts immediately.
Yeah.
And while the person is doing this process, they're also, let's see how to say this, they're beginning to see their new life as their body chemistry changes. Not visualize it, not conjure it, but actually see it from a new level of body chemistry. Here's how it works. So if you were to describe maybe a romantic encounter that was particularly great for you in your life, right? You could go into the memory of it, describe the feelings associated with it, and you'd be able to maybe hear the smells, discuss, hear the lightings, here's what was said, here's the way the person looked in my eyes. So the deeper you could feel, the more you're able to remember. There's a direct correlation between feeling and remembering.
Yeah.
So in the
Emotional
quantum leap,
memory.
yeah, in the quantum leap technique, what we're doing is you're producing a brand new level of body chemistry, a brand new feeling. So if it's a brand new feeling and feelings access memories, where's the memory coming from? Your future.
That's
So
the quantum.
That's the quantum. That's the
reality
quantum.
based on an emotion.
Yeah, you produce a brand new feeling and you get a brand new memory. A brand new memory of how maybe you operate at 100 times greater love and effectiveness. And all of a sudden, it will, instead of trying to visualize it or figure it out, it's an instantaneous recollection of a memory that you have yet to have. And then you become that character.
I just went all Schrodinger's cat here in my brain. The cat's alive, the cat's dead. It exists, it doesn't exist, it's already existing. That's pretty trippy.
Yeah.
It is. And it works so fast.
And I love that because that is such it's almost like the reverse engineering of a fight or flight limbic system reaction.
Hang on. Hang on. Yes, Gold Star.
Yes.
Woo!
He has a gold star, ladies and gentlemen. He literally held up a gold star.
I got all kind of properties here too.
No, thank you. Just Feely.
Just Feely. Oh, stinky. Stinky thinky.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Most people, they're trying to do things with they think their conscious mind is so brilliant, right? But it's 40 bits of information up to 2,000. It's so slow. You can't. It's like trying to download the Library of Congress with 2 tin cans and a piece of string. Compared to what the subconscious has available in it. The subconscious produces, the way we do the subconscious is through feelings. So we access this subconscious intelligence through this new feeling, and we get all the memories, and we become the character of what we see in this new movie.
Wow.
That blows my mind, Mark. We do a lot of work in the area of emotional intelligence, and it's funny, I talk a lot about, simplify the neuroscience behind why we react when our limbic system hijacks our neocortical function and all of that. We feel first, right? We know that feelings happen. Your limbic system processes in less than a millisecond. We know that, right? Our conscious mind takes seconds to engage. So it has to engage dealing with whatever our limbic system has put out there on the table.
Yeah.
So when you're doing these techniques, like how do you break established patterns with these techniques?
Well, sometimes it can be a little intense. Sometimes.
You did say something. You used the unit of measurement earlier in the pre-show, half a box of tissues as a unit of measurement.
Yeah. For real. Yeah. For real. Yeah. When I went from a stutter to clear speech, I had suffered. I had been in that belief system for 50 years. And with this, I shifted, in under 10 minutes.
Wow.
But my whole identity was tied up into what I couldn't do.
Right.
So all right, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. So one of the things that most other modalities are all in the positive, negative language. You've got to think positive, don't think negative, good, bad, right, or wrong. So they're all, as far as I can tell, all the other coaching modalities I've been involved with and have taken, they all were using the language of positive and negative, good and bad, to solve the issues that speaking the language of positive, negative, good and bad created.
So it's the framework. It's the established framework.
So it's the language. But it's also, we have a lot of different techniques to separate that reactive response, that reactive programming from that person's identity. Once they're separate from that, the person can now make a conscious choice to choose who they choose to become.
Love that.
Yeah. There's that interesting concept of it's different than trying to think your way into something, but I think there is this powerful thing of visioning, right? And anticipating feeling something as it will be when it's attained versus I'll feel good once I get the thing, right? I'm not going to feel good now because I don't have it. But if you can actually push yourself to feel what it feels like to reach the goal, have the thing, make the change, do whatever, that's such a huge propellant.
And there's a direct correlation between the word not and anxiety. The higher the percentage of knots a person speaks in their life, the higher the level of anxiety they have. Direct correlation. And after this class, you'll start to notice it. And when somebody's speaking a high level of knots as well, they have a trauma in their life. And what they did was when that trauma occurred, they surrounded that trauma with a whole bunch of not statements. I'm not good enough. Life shouldn't be this way. And it's a sign of suppressed anger and resentment. So to create this shift, we have the person go back to this trauma, and we have a way. Most people say you got to forgive it. You've got to forgive all this stuff. That's sort of kind of okay. That gets you person back to where they're sort of kind of okay, but it doesn't really produce a shift that we're doing in this quantum leap technique. And the quantum leap technique, they actually have to thank the person for providing that experience for them. They have to be able to see the blessing in it. Until they can see the blessing in it, nothing shifts. As soon as they
up
do
in the 12-step programs, Mark.
Hell no. I like fast, fun, and easy in my processes and in my girlfriend. Did I say that?
You got another rim shot.
You walked that out. Apologize. She's awesome.
You did a Rodney Dangerfield there. It was a grab the collar.
I know. Hey. Yeah, I can feel myself get a little hot on that one too. Like, oh, Mark, why did you do that one?
Hey, she doesn't watch my show, dude. It's fine.
Oh, she'll hear this one. I'm getting hot. Well, but it's just and there's a lot of different ways to do this reprogramming. So there's four different things that hold the pattern into place. Those four things are shame, blame, guilt, and hate. So rather than work with the pattern, we work with taking the glue off of it, which is the shame, blame, guilt, and hate. Once the glue falls off, once you get the glue off, the pattern begins to dissolve on its own, and it's easy to replace.
Man, how do you get the glue off?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same
question. Those are just debilitating things.
Have you ever seen it? So, sometimes people will sit there, let me tell you my story about, oh, you just don't understand how terrible my life has been, blah, 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 and all that stuff. So one of those tools we use is we'll have somebody. Have you ever seen a Mexican soap opera?
Oh yeah, telenovelas, baby.
Caramba, you don't understand,
Ay, Dios mío.
So I said, so everything you just said, can you play like you're a character in a Mexican soap opera and say everything you just said? They'll put their, and they'll start to go into. I said, you got to put your hand on your head. You got to make it way more dramatic. And so they'll do it. And sometimes I got to work with them. So you just made it way more dramatic than you were just a few minutes ago. They go, yes, I did. Well, they went, who's in control of the drama? Oh, I am. I said, if you can turn
now I understand. Now I understand. I saw one of your clip rolls, and you had a woman going, I declare. And I had no idea what she was doing or why, but when I saw it, I'm like, that's funny. And I'm assuming that's what you were having her do at that point in time.
Yeah. We have humor come in to shift the patterns. It's hilarious. All this stuff about people getting their feelings hurt, about all this crap. No, my only thing I can change in my life is my own body chemistry.
Yep.
And my surroundings are a reflection of my own body chemistry, my own beliefs, my own triggers. So when I change this, everything out here changes. But I got to do this first. And we find it, and we do humor, and we use language in a different way. There's a language of separation. There's a language of unity. When people speak the language of unity, their intuition goes up, their genius goes up, their effectiveness goes up. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you've mentioned body chemistry a couple of times, and just listening to you talk, it's making me think, like, are you through these techniques, are you helping people, suppress like cortisol and push dopamine? Like, what's the chemistry shifts?
Yeah, so
here?
all that is changing. We've done live blood cell analysis on somebody before and after a session, and the blood cell analysis on the person before the session, they were analyzing, oh, this person's got a lot of shit going on, and then showing the blood cell, not showing the picture of the person after the session. Oh, this person's doing great. It's the same person.
Same person.
20 minutes apart.
Huh.
20 minutes apart. We had a guy just come to. I have a class called From How to Wow.
Mm.
And that's a breakthrough. That's a 3-day class to produce breakthrough results. We had a guy come to class in Dallas. He was a videographer, so he was attending the class and shooting it. He, unbeknownst to me, when he got home, he went to before he came to class, he'd been diagnosed with autoimmune disease. He comes to the class, goes back to the doctor, tests totally negative for it.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had people with stage 4 cancer. So I worked with a lady who had 2 weeks to live. Now it's 6 months. She's cancer free.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I got the best job ever.
That's amazing.
Well, our body is a beautiful thing. It can repair itself with given the right conditions. I'm sure she'll say all the stuff about the healings and stuff, but when you put the right condition into place, the body will repair itself.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk. I had ruptured disc in my back. Both of my shoulders were frozen. I wore glasses for 37 years. I took allergy medicine for 30 plus years when I got involved with this. I stuttered for 30 something years or 50 years. My stuttering cleared up in 10 minutes. My vision healed itself within a week.
Man.
Lori wants to know that.
I know. I'm just like, whoa. I got issues. Yeah. That's fascinating. The speed of it, right?
Yep.
That it's because there's a lot of modalities of therapy and coaching, which are different things,
Yep.
right? Those are different things, but I think there's the science behind how your brain works and how it impacts the cells of your body and the speed in which those things can change and finding those levers. That's incredible. That's very impressive.
Yeah, the speed of it is the speed and the results is what's so intriguing. And we've had bunch of people say, I got more in a weekend with you than I did in 20 years of therapy, or 20 minutes with you than 20 years of therapy.
What happens with the stickiness? Like, do you ever follow up with people like a month later or a year later for like how sustainable is this?
Yeah, some people come in and do a class or two, and then they go off and go do their deal. A lot of people will come back in and do repetitive classes, stay in the conversations. We have a lot of ways for people to stay involved. If somebody goes back to drinking and alcohol and doing some of the behaviors, a lot of times things will come back. Now, as long as if they will give me a call and say, hey, I'm back I'm back drinking and doing whatever, I can work with them maybe for 10 minutes and they'll be out of it. What have somebody get stuck back in the pattern again is those 4 things again: shame, blame, guilt, and hate. When they go back into something, they get embarrassed about it and don't want to share. That's when it that's when it got a hold of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark, the rehab industry is going to shut you down.
Good luck. That's why I'm building a team of a bunch of people where we can all do this. It's got to be better, bigger than a ball-headed old guy.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. I feel you.
Yeah, I've yet to figure out how to get my hair back, man.
That's not
if you figure that out, we should talk.
Yeah, I know, right?
I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. Well, what was it? The shame, blame,
guilt,
fear and hate?
Shame, blame, guilt, and hate.
Guilt and hate. You can see just how toxic those things are to your own person, let alone whatever you're putting out into the environment, into other people's consciousness, right?
Yeah.
that's just the toxic stuff.
Yeah, when I was talking about the complaining thing too, Stanford did a study and they said complaining, damages the neurons in the brain. But they also said if you're passively listening to a complaint, it damages your neurons.
It's like passive smoke.
Yeah, secondhand smoke, right?
Yeah, secondhand smoke. Thank you.
So there was sorry, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. There was a Japanese scientist, Emoto, I think was his name. He did the water, the crystals, and just having.
Tell us what the crystals is, because I don't know this one.
So he did a study on how water droplets would crystallize based on prompts of sentiments. So if it was a jar of water that had love on it, or it was a jar of water that had courage or joy or happiness or peace, right? And then he would take up close, microscopic photographs of how the crystals would form. And then
they look different.
Way different.
And they were gorgeous and symmetrical and brilliant and phenomenal. And then there were water molecules that were exposed to hate and greed and harm,
jealousy, anger, rage, whatever.
And the water crystals were deformed and they were ugly and they were messed up. And so it was this concept of our bodies are whatever number, 60%, 80% water. Right? When you put those sentiments, that vibration, that energy, that whatever into your system, it right at the molecular level, it has this kind of impact.
Yeah, he did the same thing with music too.
Yes,
classical music produced a different crystal than heavy metal, like way different.
Yeah.
The heavy metal crystals were awesome, though, right? That's what I heard.
They all look like this.
Yeah,
amazing.
Right.
That's fantastic. It's making me think, because we've talked about this before here. The notion of negative self-talk. I will talk to myself in a way that I would never talk to another human being. Like the things that I would say, I'll look in the mirror and be like, "You fucking moron." I would never say that to anybody, but I say it to me on the reg. What happens in trying to sustain these behaviors if someone participates in that ritual?
So the way when we're doing this work, people are becoming way more aware of their feelings. So most people have found a way to suppress and medicate and compartmentalize. And a lot of men say they can compartmentalize their feelings and they can still be effective. Here's how men compartmentalize. You'll like the graphic on this one. Imagine you have a punch bowl with a few turds floating around in it. So here's the way men compartmentalize. They take a piece of cheesecloth and they strain the punch bowl, and they leave the cheesecloth and the bundled up turds still in the punch bowl, and they drink out the part that they think is... Thank you.
Allison's face is that's it.
I get it.
And they think they're compartmentalizing the thing, but no, they can't do it.
No.
But
they're drinking shitty punch, though, Mark.
Yeah, but what people begin to wake up to as they begin to feel and quit making their feelings wrong, they begin to notice little subtle issues of pain. Most people have to have a whole lot of pain to make a change, right? And when pain gets really, really great, then they go, "I've had enough. Help me out here." So what we're doing here is as the person begins to, instead of trying to get rid of their feelings, get rid of rage, or get rid of anger, get rid of all these things, what I've always said is you got to get a PhD in them. You got to understand how they work, how they come at you, because if you're making them wrong, they're going to own you. These belief systems, or this limiting belief system, it feeds off of two things. It requires either sympathy or hate to exist. And that's how people go into agreement with it, is when they hate it. They have these patterns. They're like, "Oh, I hate being this way, I hate being this way." Well, good luck trying to get rid of it. Or if you've been feeding a dog for 30 years, if you try to get rid of it, it's going to come back to where it's been fed, right?
It's not a Texan without a dog analogy, I got to tell you. And I love it, right? That word hate is such an emotive word, and we say it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, if we said the word hate in my family, we get in trouble for saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean there wasn't any hate in our family? No, there was plenty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we couldn't use the word because the word was so wrong. So the people are still programmed to where they can't even identify they have it.
Mm-hmm.
So they use words like I don't like.
Right.
And any form of dislike is actually hate.
They push it all down.
Yeah. So when they begin to feel all these things they've been suppressing and find out what it's been causing and what the payoff is for having all this stuff, they begin to become self-aware. So then it doesn't take as much pain for somebody to wake up to a new behavior.
Mm.
Yeah.
You guys are great. Mm.
Do you ever have folks who just can't break through that? They just can't let it go?
As long as they follow the system, it works every single time. See, Allison?
Okay. I gotta stay for 5 more minutes. I am captivated, Mark. I don't mean to interrupt you. I just pinged the dude. I was raising my hand as in me.
Oh, I thought you were waving.
I'll wave when I have to jump, but I'm so sorry for interrupting. Mark, I'm absolutely captivated.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right. So what was I saying? Where was I on it?
Well, I was asking if you ever had anybody that couldn't break those patterns.
Yeah. So as long as they play the game, the system works every single time.
Mm.
And it's just a matter of, are they going to follow the directions and do the system?
Mm.
So as long as they follow directions and do the system, it works 100% of the time. I even worked with a lady who has a lot of health issues. She was 70 something, 77, something like that, was having seizures, was on pain meds, muscle relaxers, high blood pressure medicine, anti-seizure medicine. And I was working with doctors in Houston. They were sending me their patients they couldn't cure. And I had a 100% success ratio in working with them. Wow. Guess what happened? They quit sending me their patients.
That's right, because that does not fit their business model.
You're cutting their revenue, bro.
Yeah. So I worked. When I first met her, I was doing a talk on language, emotions, and well-being. I was talking about how if we're stressed out, it affects our immune system. And there's maybe 30 people in the room, and they had told me about this lady. So she comes walking into the room. She's kind of shuffling in, and ashen gray, like death. And she's sitting down, and I'm talking about how stress affects the autoimmune system. She goes, "What about pain?" I said, "Well, just start talking with me a little bit." I could see the doctors; they were going, "Holy shit!" because they knew how fast the system worked. Mm-hmm. They were going, "Oh God, here it comes." And she said, "I don't feel probably 15 times in 30 seconds." She goes, "I don't feel anger. I don't feel pissed. I don't feel upset. I don't feel like all those words, right?" And I said, I got it. Just say, give me permission to feel again. Because when somebody says, I don't feel, their words are suppressing their feelings, right? Mm-hmm. So she says, give me permission to feel again. Say it again. Give me permission to feel. Say it again. About the 3rd time she said it, she has a seizure. Mm. Oh. And the doctors are trying to get to her. And I'm going, this was like 12 years ago, so I'm just starting out in this new modality. I said, I got this. I said, I got this. Don't sit down. I got this. Like, holy crap, who just said that,
Wow.
And I said, anybody who has sympathy for her right now, get out of the room. I'm going to work with her for a few minutes, get her stable. So I worked with her maybe 10 minutes or so, got her stable. And after the class, I took her. I said, I'll work with you after the class. So I took her outside, worked with her about another 15 minutes, bring her back in. Instead of walking hunched over, she's walking straight upright, colors back in her face. And she looked probably 10 years younger.
Wow.
In 15, 20 minutes. And her goal was to be able to dance with her husband one more time before she died. Mm-hmm. She signed up for 5. Huh? Yeah, she signed up for 5 sessions with me. And within within a short period of time, she's dancing with her husband around the living room. She's going out dancing with her husband.
Mhm.
She was supposed to come back to the doctor's talk when I was going to speak again and share her wins. She couldn't come because she was on a cruise.
Mm. Nice.
And all that occurred like in 5 weeks.
Incredible.
What had happened with her was her former husband woke her up one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, gave her a note, and shot himself simultaneously in the head with a rifle and shotgun.
Oh God.
Oh God.
And she has suppressed all that information. She suppressed all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's causing all of her issues.
Yep.
And when I started working with her, she goes, I don't even believe all this stuff. I said, will you follow the directions I'm working with you? She goes, yeah, I'll follow the directions. So great, it's going to work for you. So she didn't even believe what I was telling her was going to happen.
Wow.
You don't have to believe it. Just follow the directions.
Man.
Wow.
Incredible.
And she came when I was considering, I was doing real estate investing. I was doing really well at it. I said, I'm just going to do real estate investing because it's very profitable and I can do whatever, have a really different life.
Yeah.
And when she came into my life and she made that change, I went, you know what? I'm quit real estate investing. I'm going all in on this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Power to make a difference, right?
Mm.
And for you guys who have desire to have more money, and people like money's a big deal. But frequently, we have people doubling and tripling their income within 90 days of taking a class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they get out of their own way.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's manifesting a different reality.
Yeah. They start to be able to become creative again. Instead of focusing on what they don't have, they begin to focus on what they love having.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You make it sound so easy, Mark.
It is. It is. It's really easy. That's what people say. You make this sound so easy. I'll bet you it's really hard. I said, no. Actually, what's hard is staying where you are. That's what's hard.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's hard. And a lot of people say you got to get out of your comfort zone. And I go, so get out of your comfort zone. What are you talking about? You're struggling with money. You're struggling with your wife. You're struggling with your kids. Are you really comfortable, or are you familiar with being miserable?
Right.
Oh,
ouch.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
People are familiar.
You are out of your comfort zone, bro.
Yeah, you're familiar with being miserable. What are you talking about? Comfort?
Yeah, I see that, right? People that it's a known entity, even though it sucks.
Interesting. You said entity.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Like it's this thing, right? And it's like, I hate it, but I know what it is. And somehow I'm getting something out of it because I keep holding it, And
those 4 things I said about shame, blame, guilt, and hate, those are very powerful drugs.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Our body is a chemical producing factory. And you've seen people under stress, and you've seen people who've done coke. The effects of stress on the body and the effects of cocaine are the same effects.
Mm.
I played a band for a long time, Mark. I've seen that.
Yeah. But it's even more insidious when our bodies produce them because somebody's not snorting, popping, smoking, or shooting, right?
Yeah.
So my own body chemistry is producing toxicity to myself. Yes, by your own choosing.
Right.
Wow.
It's that whole, we joke about it sometimes, but suffering is optional.
Right.
And
it truly is, right?
Yep. Yeah. And all suffering comes from the belief, and we're going to get a little religious here or spiritual, but all suffering comes from the belief in being separate from God.
Attachment too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's where all suffering exists. All disease, all suffering is a belief in being separate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask people in class, have you ever been somewhere where life isn't? You wouldn't believe how long people have to think about that to answer that question.
Mm. Wow.
And I've never been somewhere where life isn't. Well, I was in the desert one time. I go, so you were in the desert. Are you alive? Well, oh yeah, I'm alive. Well, then
there's life.
Yeah, it's wild.
Man.
But we've been conditioned to believe we're separate and we have to do something good enough to get back to it, which creates all this anxiety and stress.
Mm-hmm.
Dis-ease, non-ease.
Yeah.
Lack.
Yeah.
it's funny.
You got me on a roll, guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fascinating to me, right? And, whether it's faith-based or hippy-dippy, right? I mean, the sort of, there's something that's bigger than us that we can tap into. I mean, that's a thing, right? I get it. And what's fascinating to me is it's humans are creatures of pattern. I say this all the time, right? And we adopt patterns because it makes our lives, quote unquote, easier, right? We stay in those patterns because they become familiar. Mm-hmm. And whether those patterns are ones of, vibrancy and joy and thriving, or they are patterns of, to your point, Mark, are you really in your comfort zone? Because this doesn't sound like that's very comfortable. Mm-hmm. But it's not comfortable, but it's comforting.
Yeah.
Because
it's
familiar.
Predictable. And that's like when you know people that have a prosperity consciousness versus a scarcity consciousness, right? People with the scarcity consciousness are fearful and they're clinging and they're worried and they're grasping and they're it makes you feel like, mm-hmm. And prosperity consciousness is there's enough for everyone. There's ample for all, right? Mm-hmm. And I always find that really interesting because sometimes that can be compartmentalized to different parts of they have a prosperity consciousness around professional achievement, but they have a scarcity complex or scarcity around personal relationships, right? Yeah. And so even in the same person, you can have different kinds of.
Have you ever read, there's a book out called Language and the Pursuit of Happiness?
I've heard that. Yeah.
By a guy by the name of Chalmers Brothers. The guy by the name of Fernando Flores developed this system, and there's 6 different speech acts we can use: assessments, assertions, declarations, requests, promises, and offers. And how proficient we are with our speech acts determines the success of our lives. Now, I studied with one of Fernando's proteges for about 18 months, probably 25, 30 years ago. And that was fascinating to do this thing called grounded assessments. So we have to, you have to, instead of having an opinion, and most people will they'll make an assessment about somebody. He's really rude. What do you mean by that? Well, he's a jerk. He's inconsiderate. But there's no facticity there. Mm-hmm. So whenever somebody's speaking in an ungrounded assessment, what the result is a chemical that they become addicted to. So in other words, they become addicted to lies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So whenever I started doing these classes, he would have me do these written exercises, and he had me do them until I dreamt of them. Mm-hmm. Huh. And he didn't tell me that was going to be the deal, but I kept doing them. I'm like, oh my gosh! So this is getting real. I'm getting like, how much longer am I have to do this? He goes, keep doing them. Finally, I went, dude, how much longer am I going to do them? He goes, I'm dreaming in them. He goes, great. I was waiting for that. Like.
What was that book? What was that? The book?
Language and the
Pursuit of Happiness.
Okay.
Yeah. Great book.
I'll put that in the show notes for anybody listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mark, this is crazy. I tell Lori every week, I get pushed guests from these PR agencies and I don't know who they are. Right. And I'm like, tell me why this person is good. And they, give me a song and dance routine or send me some snippets. And I'm like, okay, fine. We run an HR based community here. And I'm like, you got to stop sending me middle-aged white dudes, please. That's enough middle-aged white dudes. So when they send me a middle-aged white dude, I'm like, you got to tell me why I should talk to this guy. And, I was looking back over my emails with that PR firm. And they're like, just trust me, it's going to be good. It's great. This has been a fantastic conversation. I could go another hour, but I want to be mindful of the fact that, Allison was supposed to leave 25 minutes ago.
Just real quick. I had a national grocery chain when I first started doing this. They were sending me their people that HR couldn't turn. Uh-huh. I had 100% success ratio turn in their employees, mid-level managers. and finding what was going on with them and making, where they were having conflict with their people. So, I mean, this worked for HR easily.
Oh, sure.
It's really easy. We train people at HR to use these techniques to really make differences with their people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Mark, if people want to find out more about Quantum Leap and learn more about you and go to one of these classes, where do we go find you out there on the interwebs?
My website is in www.encompasslife.com. Under LinkedIn and the social media, if you put at Quantum Leap Technique, you'll find. Oh, there you are. Like, what is that?
Sorry.
It's okay. You will find us on LinkedIn, Instagram at Quantum Leap Technique. I'll send you an offer that you can put out for people who can get a free PDF for something for your guests, for anybody who reads this. Yeah. And if you email me, Mark at encompasslife.com, and just put down the bar and or put down Woodford, that'd be cool.
The keyword is Woodford.
Woodford. That'd be great. And I'm happy that I will know that came from you guys. So thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark, for being here. I can tell it's a good episode because Allison's still here. If she'd have left, I'd have been like, okay, Mark, thanks. See you later, buddy. Have a good night.
I had no idea what I was in for today.
I love it. Well, thanks, Allison, for sticking around. You have permission to go. We're going to do our end of show ritual. You know what that means. It's funny things, good feels, and our silly cocktail. And I'll just get right on into it, take a couple of minutes, and then send everybody off to dinner. Funny thing, number one, this is just because the last week has been kind of crazy. Gotta say, as a Canadian, watching this season of America has been absolutely riveting. Kudos to the writers.
Season of America.
Yeah.
If you have kids or were a kid, this one's funny. My child just used the autofill info on the iPad to book his own vacation. Now I get to make the phone calls explaining that we need to cancel these reservations because the gentleman who made them is in fact 9.
I'd love to see the itinerary on that. Right. That would be cool.
This is in the dad joke lane. It's a text to the dad. Have you seen the Dog's Bowl? Dad says, I didn't know they could. He says, I'm so fucking tired. I didn't know they could bowl. This is just from the sort of middle-aged decrease in memory department. Sat in the waiting room at the vet, and a lady just came walking in and goes, oh, fuck, I've left the dog at home.
Amazing.
That's pretty good.
Because I think we've all done something like that. I believe Lori left her child at daycare one day.
I did. Yeah. I said, how about you go get your baby?
Yeah, I can't find my phone. What are you talking to me on? My phone.
This one is a very teenagery one. Told my nephew to get off that game and hang up his clothes. See, now I'm mad. And for those listening, it is a picture of a laundry basket suspended in a closet on the hanging rod by 2 hangers. Clothes hung. This one I pre-warned Lori about because I had to go to King Soopers today to solve this problem. The bedroom ibuprofen became the kitchen ibuprofen, and now that's gone. I have to get the car ibuprofen because I can't find the handbag ibuprofen. Today's good feel story. On the surface, you think, oh, this one's not going to get me. I cried like a baby watching this one. Steve, do your Steve thing.
Finally here tonight, there are few things in life more important than good friends. CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road for a friendship that brought a community together.
Every week, Andy Gullahorn goes for a walk. And every week, about 1.5 miles away, his friend Gabe Scott does the same thing at the same time. They walk toward each other And when they meet, it's the weirdest thing. You see that? Clap, snap, high five. Then, often, they simply walk home. The whole exercise, their way of saying hi.
I've got a friend who literally will walk through the rain and the snow just to give me a high five. And I wish everybody could feel that feeling.
As we first reported in 2021, Andy and Gabe are musicians in Nashville. They met at a concert, got together on occasion, but not as often as they would have liked. So they invented this little bit of silliness as a way of guaranteeing they see each other at least once a week.
So this is the high five journal.
Andy has a log of every encounter, including the one that was nearly their last.
It was high five number 312.
Gabe was hospitalized with a severe form of encephalitis. It caused his brain to swell and robbed him of his past.
I pretty much forgot my life.
Your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's when his buddy Andy, now a virtual stranger, came to visit.
Said, well, Gabe, this is going to sound really weird, but I need you to do something for me. Give me a high five.
When the moment happened, my body just did what it's been doing for years. Clap, snap, high five.
It's been 3.5 years since we first told this story. Gabe's memory is much better, and the tradition still strong. In fact, the guys recently invited friends, fans, and family to celebrate 10 years of high fives. Yay! Another memory to cherish for a man who nearly forgot it all.
It's really special to have a memory of something. To have something that's this consistent in my life, that means this much.
Wow.
Andy even wrote a song about their ritual.
So take a walk with me on Monday morning.
It's a reminder that going out of your way for someone is still the straightest path to an everlasting friendship.
Knowing the small things matter.
Steve Hartman, CBS News, on the road.
Amazing.
I didn't even know how relevant that was going to be today.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Love it.
The power of the subconscious.
That's right.
I mean, think about it, Mark. It's all the things that we've been talking about today.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your body knows.
Now, what if you already knew that we're going to have this talk and selected that based on the talk that we had?
That's where my brain is freaking out right now.
It's it, yeah.
I mean, I picked this because it had musicians in it and it made me cry. My mind is just exploded right now with the weird relevance that this had. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
All right. Today's semi-quarantine cocktail is called Deja What? It's a riff on the Deja Vu cocktail. You're going to need a little bit of vodka, one dumb criminal coming in from Europe, ounce of triple sec. You're going to need the Border Patrol, an ounce of fresh lime juice. So, dude got arrested for transporting drugs into the country. It was ketamine and a bunch of other stuff. He went to jail. He got out. A little bit of pineapple juice. He went back to Europe. And he tried it again in the same place. He came back to Seattle with a bag full of drugs and got arrested again by the same CBP agent. I mean, what kind of world are we living in today where criminals are that dumb? Maybe this is one of those patterns, Mark, where they just can't break it and they need to come see you because they're trying stupid shit over and over again.
Wow.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks for being here today. This has been a fantastic conversation. I can't wait to see what comes next. Remember, we're out next week and the week after, but then we're back in 2 weeks with more fun and games. Have great evenings, everybody. Get some dinner.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you had a good time and learned a thing or two at today's happy hour, Please share it with your friends. If you want to join our tribe, head on over to skyeteam.cloud/TCB or email us at info@skyeteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again, and remember, you've always got friends at the Corporate Bartender.